Why are we banging on these other people that we've never gotten anything from? Like one day they're going to wake up different? Probably not. You already have people that love you, that champion you. How do we get better there? Hi, this is Coach Joe Lucas, and welcome to the Magellan Network Show. My goal inside of this communication, this show, is to share with you my nearly 30 years of coaching some of the most successful financial advisors in North America. We're going to be talking about strategies, syntaxes. We're going to bring guests on from time to time, and I'm going to share with you what's working now. So think of this show as sort of like a little one-on-one kind of mini coaching cast, if you like, where we're going to be going in depth from time to time on strategies to help you grow your business, get more effective, become more efficient, find balance in your time management, grow your business, and quite frankly, whatever else is going on in the world today. So before we get to today's episode, I'd love for you to do a couple things for me. Number one, make sure that if you're watching this on YouTube, that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're doing the audio, make sure that you give us a review on whether it's Spotify or Apple. We'd really appreciate that. And quite frankly, that does help. It does matter when you rate things and like things and subscribe to things. It helps us get the word out to more of the industry. And lastly, I have a very special gift for you. Go to MagellanNetwork.net, so one word, MagellanNetwork.net, and I have for you a complimentary membership, 100% gratis, where you can tap into about between 50 and 75 hours of masterclasses, forms, tools, templates, and strategies. So please go ahead and make sure you go ahead and get that claimed. Smash the like button and subscribe. And please go ahead and leave us a review on whatever podcasting platform you're on. And now, let's get to this week's episode. Hi, it's your Coach Joe Lucas, and welcome to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. So what I want to chat about today is tracking, KPIs, OKRs, important stuff. I don't care whatever vernacular you want to use. I find that I'm talking 80, 90% of advisors, do not have their arms around important key metrics when it comes to their business, right? And there's an old saying, if it matters, it gets measured, right? I don't know who came up with that. It's a good saying, so we're going to stick to that. And I'll share with you a very quick story. That's why we're talking about this today. There's two reasons. Number one, I just had a conversation with a potential new client, and it was just shocking to me how much they did not know about their business. And also, we're getting to business planning here, at least in my world. Here we are, literally November 1st. So it's top of mind as we get ready to do pre-work for our Magellan Vision Process in a couple of weeks. So the question becomes, why don't advisors measure what matters? The answer to that is very simply, I think a lot of you just don't know the importance of it. You don't have a strategy or a system around it. Or you think whatever your custodian or firm or broker dealer provides you, that's key stuff. And remember, there's two types of metrics, okay? Leading metrics and lagging metrics, okay? What are some lagging metrics? AUM, households, revenue, right? Those things reported after a fact, right? So those are lags. They kind of show you what's behind you, what you've already accomplished. They don't really show you the road in front of you. Leading indicators would be around the concept of, how many intro meetings are we having? How many referrals are we driving? If you're doing any other kind of marketing, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And I will say this, the more sophisticated your marketing and your business development is, the more critically important it is to track it. And I'll give you a case in point. I work with an advisor. I'm not going to get into names or locations because it's all confidential. But I will say this, they pretty much have, I think, 3 or 4 different Dave Ramsey territories. So they're all in on the Dave thing, right? And they have been for many years. And he's hired advisors to work with those leads. I think his investment is just around 6 figures to get this all not including staff. We're just talking about just getting the territories and stuff like that. It's a 6-figure marketing investment. And I just remember not too long ago, I was talking to him and I was going, hey, I'm just curious, what's our conversion rate these days? How many names are we sourcing via territory? What percentage of the names are we actually having conversations with? Of those conversations, how many are going to a consultation? How many are then going to a proposal? What's the P&L for each territory based upon cost versus the client that comes out of it, right? Not just number of clients come out, but in terms of also the economic impact of those clients, right? I mean, stuff that if you were in any other business, you would say, man, this is like basic 101 stuff. But like, I can just see, because we're doing this via Zoom, like no clue. And this is a successful person. We're talking about, multiple seven-figure practice here, right? So definitely an intelligent human being, right? Really, really bright. It's like totally different language here, right? But they're willing to invest six figures a year, right? To just kind of do this. And I'm just saying, like, if you're doing any kind of lead gen, I don't care if it's seminars, I don't care if it's internet leads, I don't care, right? But if you're putting money on the table, you got to track every aspect of it, because whatever the week gets linked to, like for example with Ramsey or seminars or any kind of digital marketing, internet leads, anything like that, wherever your weak link is, it kills everything, right? So you can be good, and then suck at this one area, and then it kills, like, okay, there's no conversion, right? And I'll give you a great example. Let's say you're doing seminars, right? I don't care if you're doing internet or live, doesn't matter, right? Well, what matters? So sign rate. So if there's let's say I send out 3,000 invites, right? What percentage of people actually, yes, I want to come, right? And that's typically going to be about 0.5%. So you get rejected 99.5%, FYI. If you're doing like a white glove or one of those where it's more like you're paying for a lead or a person to come to something, right? Okay, so how many people come, right? How many people sign up to come? How many people then show up, right? So how many people sign up? How many people show up, right? Then what happens? What percentage of people want to chat afterwards? Right? Of that chat, how many of them go to a formal consultation? Of those formal consultations, how many of those turn into proposals? How many of those proposals do you get a yes on, right? So there's the initial, we call the 90-day measurement, and then you go back and measure it over a year, because you're going to have people that show up months later that came to something or experienced you and stuff like that. Like, you've got to get some level of sophistication around it, especially when you're spending, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 on a cycle, right? Like, you don't want to amateur this. Right? And I've always found, I've had guys and gals do seminars for decades, and I go through the numbers with them. I say, look, hey, this one here doubled our yield in terms of appointments. What was so special at it? And they'll say, oh, it was at this event. It was a really nice venue, da-da-da. Okay, then we got to go back there. Like, why are we doing them over here when we get half the response, half the conversion rate? Let's just keep doing these. Like, why are we not, let's not worry about that area. Let's just focus, let's double down on this area. But you can't make those strategic marketing and business decisions unless you have your data, your numbers, right? That's really, really important. Next, so other questions. Let's just say you're playing a COI game, right? CPAs, attorneys, and there's a whole other conversation around that. Okay, how many names do you get from your COI market, right? Every month, every quarter, right? Inside of that, what's the conversion rate? Inside of that, who specifically seems to be our rock stars there, right? And who seems to be like kind of dead, right? I mean, you got to know where things were coming from, because you may find, and this is kind of typical, is you may have like 2 or 3 COI partners that give you 80% of your opportunity flow, right? Well, what can we do to double, triple down on them? Because they already have the mindset, they have the psychology, they have the behavior, right? Why are we banging on these other people that we've never gotten anything from? Like, one day they're going to wake up different? Probably not. You already have people that love you, that champion you. How do we get better there, right? But you can't, make those decisions unless you have your data, and more importantly, you take the time to look at it. This is strategic stuff, right? Hi, Coach Joe Lukacs here, and I'm just breaking here for a moment just to do a couple quick reminders. Number one, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel or our podcast. In addition, please leave a comment or a review. Those things really, really matter. And share this episode with 3 of your colleagues inside the financial services space. And lastly, make sure that you go ahead and claim your free membership inside of Magellan Network. Now back to this week's episode. So getting back to my story about this potential person, I mean, this is like one-on-one stuff. How many clients do you have? And And there wasn't a lot of clarity around that, right? That's so basic. Then I go deep dive. Okay, hey, what's it cost you to have a client on the books every year? What do you mean? And he goes, what do you mean? I said, well, what's it cost you to have a client, right? And let's just pull your comp out for a second. So your team salary, overhead, technology, licensing, everything, right? What's it cost you to have a client? You got to know. Then I asked him your pricing models, right? And financial planning, AUM, stuff like that. And I said, well, how did you derive those, right? What analysis did you do to come up with that your pricing model? And they're kind of looked at me that's what everybody else, I don't know, just looked around, it's kind of everybody does. And I said, then these smaller households, how do you know you're profitable? And he goes, I don't. I said, so it's very possible, and I'm going to make a sidebar statement here really quick. I am going to use the P word here because it's really critical. Many of you don't think in terms of profit or profitability, and that's a terrible mistake. Here's why. If you are not profitable, you don't have the capital to reinvest back in the business to continue to scale and grow the business. You actually flatline your business. Profits are the oxygen and the engine of growth. No profits, no growth. You can't reinvest. The second sidebar, many advisors, they allow their lifestyle, they go for instant gratification. Oh, I'm making $1 million, so I'm going to spend $1 million on everything, right? And then I got no reserves, I got no delta to go reinvest back into what I'm doing, right? And if you could just delay your gratification by 12 to 24 months, right? Let's get a little margin in the game that you can reinvest back in. You grow so much faster. If I look at my clients that really grow, let's say, twice the rate of a typical advisor, there are commonalities, right? One of the commonalities is that they have a gap between their money game and their lifestyle game. And they take that gap and they reinvest it back in the business. And allows them to grow faster. Many advisors, they have $1 profit. That's for the vacation. That's for the second home. That's for the AMG, whatever they're going to roll with, right? Then they go, I'd like to really go do that, but I don't think I can afford to do it. I said, what is wrong here, right? So those are just some things that are really critically important. Here's some basic information you need. Again, whether you want to call them OKRs or KPIs or, again, important stuff, I don't care how you label them, but here's what you need to know about your business, okay? Number one, how many clients you have. I know that's one-on-one stuff, but it shocks me. Number two, how many new clients did you get in the last 30 days, 90 days, 12 months? Number three, where did they come from, right? So what's working, right? Number four, again, what's it cost you to have a client? Number five, profitability based on segmentation, right? So again, what you guys are doing, AAA, AA, single A, gold, silver, bronze, I don't care what you call it. What's it cost you to run that client? And then the revenue, what's it cost you the next tranche, what's it cost you here? And then, margin profits, right? And what you're going to find typically is your larger clients are subsidizing your smaller clients. And that's going to be a problem going forward, right? From there, really important. What else do we want to know? How many names did you source via referral and introduction from your clients? How many names did you source via referral from COIs? How many names did you source from social media, networking? You want to know where your opportunity flow comes from, because a lot of advisors, they have this FOMO concept where, they play everywhere. I said, well, let's look where the business is really coming from. And this is hey, forget all the other stuff you're doing for a second. Let's look what actually produces results, and then ask ourselves, are we doing everything possible to maximize that channel, right? Because I've seen situations, and it's very common in my mind, in my experiences where, hey, I've gotten, last 12 months I brought in 14 new clients. Okay, where do they come from? And of the 14, we'll have 9 B client referrals and 5 or 4 B COI referrals. And then we have one random LinkedIn thing, right? Or social media thing. And yet the advisor wants to go do this big social media thing and put a lot of money, time, and energy. And money is one thing, man. You can do that. But when you put your focus on it, that's limited, right? So I'm sitting here having a pretty heated conversation with them. Hey, wait a second. So, referrals produce 70% of our results. The COI game produced another, let's call it 25% of results. And the social media game produced 5% of our results in terms of new clients, right? And And we have not optimized the referral game at all. In fact, it's been totally passive random, quite frankly. COIs, a little bit more activity, but still not nearly what we could do. But this person wants to go and do a YouTube channel and let us do all this other stuff. And I'm like, this is a terrible idea. Like, we're like, hey, let's get in business 101 here. And then, but it comes back to my firm put together this conference, and we were there, and we heard these speakers talk about social media and internet marketing, and everybody got really jacked up. I said, yeah, it's FOMO, man. Like, just because your colleagues and competitors are there doesn't mean you have to be there too, right? Especially if it doesn't work, right? As a business owner, you got to be really honest with yourself and say, let's look at the facts and not the emotion behind something. That's my job. That's what I do for my clients, quite frankly. And you just want to know. So these are just some very simple data points. One of the best ways, like this is like so simple. So I'm going to give you something to do here as a challenge. And then I'm going to go ahead and then let you guys kind of play with it. And I'd love to get some feedback, by the way. So like the video, pass it along to your colleagues. Make sure you subscribe. I want you to look at the last, let's say, 12 households. Keep it simple. So new clients, the last 12, right? Where'd they come from, right? And they're going to come from probably maybe 2 or 3, situations, right? Referrals, COIs, maybe you are doing seminars, maybe you are doing networking, maybe you are doing lead gen, fine. Where do they come from? Then as you get to 12 and you break it all down, ask yourself the question, maybe you have 3 things. So I'll give you like an example. So on the referral side, on a scale of 1 to 10, are you doing absolutely everything to maximize and optimize that channel? Let's say you get some from COIs. Hey, are you doing absolutely everything possible on a scale of 1 to 10 to maximize that channel and its success? Let's say you are doing seminars, 3rd channel. Are you doing absolutely everything possible, right, to optimize and maximize that channel? And I'm telling you right now, the answer is a no. So my point is you don't need a 4th channel. This is where advisors kind of get screwed, is they kind of spread themselves out, they over-allocate, right, and they go too wide, and they never get great at a couple things. And that is driven by a lot of, again, people that want to help you. And I think there's some really good consultants out there and programs and stuff like that. But I also think there are a lot of them out there that prey on your insecurity. That if you're not out there playing, if you're not out there doing this and your competitors are, somehow you're going to miss out on something. And they get you on that, right? FOMO, fear of missing out. One of the most prevalent psychological challenges, I think, in our industry today, right? So I'm going to wrap this up because I appreciate your time. Know your numbers, especially on the marketing side. You may not be investing 6 figures like my client is, right, in that game. But in the next 5 years, with so much opportunity from advisors retiring, boomers retiring, boomers selling their businesses, between now and let's say 2030, you can create multi-generational wealth for you and your family. I've got clients that are doing this. They're getting 30, 40, 50, $75 million valuations on their practices, right? I mean, we're talking like real dollars here. And it's just going to get bigger over the next 5 years. So if there's ever a time to lean into stuff, now's the time. Right? Don't squander this opportunity. It's too damn good. All right. And then I would love you guys to check out, because it's that time of year now. So fabizplan.com, fabizplan.com. You can register for a seat in our upcoming Magellan Vision 10X 2025 strategic planning program. It's a live stream and also a masterclass. You can go to any other coaching firm you like. We're the only ones that do this. So it's the only place to get something like this. Okay? So thank you for listening and watching this episode of Magellan Network Show. Welcome to the month of November. See you guys in 7 days. Thank you for watching or listening to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. Hey, if any of this resonated with you, I invite you to come to MagellanNetwork.net, and we have a powerful group coaching community of like-minded advisors. Come in for a trial. You and I will have a one-on-one conversation. Let's see if I can help elevate your game both personally and professionally.